You know I love the Sony 1000XM2 because they have the best active noise cancellation on the market right now. But I know dropping $350 on a pair of ANC headphones is a lot for some people. So today we're going to be comparing three ANC headphones in the $200 budget range. Specifically, the Audio-Technica ATH-ANC700BT quiet points, the Sony WH-CH700Ns, and the JBL Everest Elite 750NC because they're usually on sale now. Just so we're clear, this isn't a full review on either of these headphones. I'm just trying to point out the most important differences between them so I can help you with your purchase decision. If you want to learn more about either of these headphones, then watch their full reviews. The Audio-Technica ANC700BT, which I'm going to be referring to as the quiet points, are the newest headphones here and currently retail for $199.99. The Sony 700Ns were released around the same time as the quiet points and also retail for $199.99. The JBL Everest Elite are a year old now and used to retail for $299.99, but they're usually on sale now for about $230. So that's why I'm including them in this versus video. If you want to pick either of these ANC headphones up, I'll have links in the description below. And if you use the links, it really helps out the channel. Check them out because you never know when these headphones might go on sale, so you might get lucky. Okay, first let's go over some small but crucial details. All three of these ANC headphones use a micro USB port for charging, and they all have an audio jack for passive listening. But only the Sony 700Ns have a 3.5mm audio jack, whereas the quiet points and Everest Elite have 2.5mm audio jacks. Also, only the Everest Elite comes included with a hard shell carrying case, while the quiet points come included with a carrying pouch, and the Sonys don't come with a carrying pouch at all. Now let's talk about fit, because I feel it's the most important thing to take into consideration when choosing headphones. All three of these ANC headphones are over-ear headphones, and they all have a stainless steel headband, plastic body panels, and synthetic leather on the ear cups. But the Sonys are the lightest here, weighing in at 234 grams, the quiet points weigh in at 247 grams, and the JBLs are the heaviest here, weighing in at 280 grams. But hands down, I feel the quiet points are the most comfortable headphones here because they have very roomy ear cups and they have the least amount of clamping force. The Sonys are also comfortable, but they are a little snug if you have a bigger head like me. The JBLs have the same amount of clamping force as the Sonys, but since their ear cups don't pivot as much as the Sonys or quiet points, I feel they never fit just right. They always put some pressure on the anterior portion of my ear. Also, since the JBLs have so much padding, overheating is definitely an issue with these headphones. Whereas the Audio-Technicas don't overheat too much, and the Sonys is somewhere between the quiet points and JBL. So comfort points has got to go to the Audio-Technicas. And when it comes to build quality, I feel the quiet points and Sonys are on par with one another, whereas I feel the build quality on the JBL isn't the best. They crack and squeak a lot whenever I handle them. But now let's talk about another small but important thing to take into consideration, and that's how you control your music playback with these headphones. Obviously, you can play, pause, skip a track, go back a track, and activate your voice assistant directly from these headphones, but how you go about it is very different on each of these headphones. The Sonys have the best controls here thanks to a dedicated volume rocker and a separate switch, so you can skim through your music very quickly and easily. The Everest Elite has control buttons, but they can be pretty hard to find and to tell apart. And instead of double pressing or triple pressing the center button to skip a track, you have to press and hold the volume up or volume down button. And I hate this because it takes forever to skip a track. But more importantly, controlling your music playback on the quiet points is near impossible. The quiet points use touch controls that are almost ever accurate when you're trying to skip or go back a track. And since they're on the left ear cup instead of the right ear cup, it feels very unnatural for me since I'm a righty. And since controlling my music playback is so hard with the quiet points touch controls, I just naturally find myself defaulting back to my phone. Now let's talk about battery life because they're all very different across the board. With ANC and Bluetooth turned on and with the volume set at 50%, the Everest Elite managed to average 17 hours of playback time. Under the same circumstances, the quiet points average 23 hours of playback time, and the Sonys have the best battery life here, averaging 37 hours of playback time. And with ANC turned off, these guys managed to hit 45 hours of playback time. Regarding connectivity, all three of these headphones have a 30-foot range, but the Sonys and quiet points are using Bluetooth 4.1, while the JBLs are using Bluetooth 4.0. Wireless connection on the JBL and Sony is very stable, whereas if you get a single wall between the quiet points and your phone, then your music will start to stutter. But the JBL and Sony also have very little latency, which make them good for watching videos. whereas the latency on the quiet points is much more noticeable, so these aren't the best for watching videos. And all three of these headphones can only be connected to one device at a time, so that's something important to take into consideration if you're a power user. Now let's talk about the active noise cancellation on these headphones. The JBLs managed to block out the most sound here, but they do have a considerable amount of cabin pressure. Whenever I put the JBLs on, I constantly find myself trying to pop my ears, but they don't cause me any headaches like the Bose QC35 do. The ANC on the Sony and quiet points is really only worth using on a bus ride commute or in an already quiet office, because they don't really do a good job of blocking out chatter. But the ANC on either the Sony or quiet points have very little to no cabin pressure, which is good because I can go hours with them on without feeling any discomfort. When it comes to sound quality, the Audio-Technica quiet points have a neutral sound signature. They also have the best soundstage and instrument separation here, but they get the least loudest at max volume. The Everest Elite also has a pretty good soundstage and they have the most bass here, but if the bass really gets going, then it'll bottom out now and then. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it still happens. The mids and instrument separation on the Sonys is very similar to the JBLs, but the Sonys don't have nearly as much bass. But the Sony's bass doesn't bottom out, and they also get the loudest here. All three of these headphones sound good, but I do find myself reaching for the quiet points because of that soundstage. But both the Sony and JBL have an app where you can quickly and easily adjust the EQ on either of these headphones. So if you want, you can crank the bass up to a 10, or if you want to put an emphasis on vocalists, you can bring the mids out on either of these two headphones. Unfortunately, the quiet points don't have an app, so you'll have to use a third-party app instead. And through JBL's app, you can also adjust how much ambient sound you want to pump in into each ear individually. And this feature is good because you can be aware of your surroundings if you're walking around in the city if you have the JBL headphones on. This feature is also found on the 1000XM2, but the 700Ns don't have this feature. So, if ANC is very important to you and you have a $200 budget, then go with the JBL Everest Elite because they managed to block out the most sound here. But like I mentioned earlier, they do have a considerable amount of cabin pressure. Some people are able to get used to it, but I'm not one of those people. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think they're the most comfortable headphones here, and you're also going to be getting the worst battery life. I think the Sony WH-CH700N is the safe buy here because they should be comfortable to wear it for most people. Their ANC gets the job done if you're on a bus, and since they have a stupid long battery life, they're great for traveling and or commuting. But if you're mostly interested in sound and comfort and occasionally plan on using ANC, then the Audio-Technica quiet points might be more your style. I think they're the sleekest looking headphones here, but remember their touch controls are not the best. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. Support the channel by clicking on the links down below, and I'll catch you next time.